Yes!
Well, welcome to another edition of the Faithful1o1 podcast. I'm your host, Ty Austin, and joining me today, Mr. Wayne Gonce. What's going on, Wayne?
What's up, buddy? What's going on, man? Glad to see you down here in the nice sunshine state of Florida.
That's right. It feels good. Hey, coming from the Northeast, it feels good to be down here. 80-degree weather.
Oh, yeah.
Sunshine. I might have to make a move.
Hey, come on down, man. You know where the game's at on Sundays.
That's right.
Right here.
That's right.
Little what we call it, Levi South here.
That's right. We do Levi Southeast.
Yep, it's Levi Southeast.
Make it happen.
Yep.
We play well against these teams.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, Wayne, I know you grew up in Maryland. Is that correct?
Yeah, Maryland and Delaware, the borderline of there. Yeah.
All right. So, how'd you become a 49ers fan, being in the Mideast?
Man, so it's funny. So my dad lived in Cleveland majority of his life as a kid. Played football out there and everything. And my dad's a huge Browns fan.
Okay.
And when I was younger, they all moved to Maryland. So we lived on the borderline of Maryland and Delaware. So we hung out in Newark, Delaware a lot. Well, back in that time, like the late 80s, there was no Baltimore Ravens.
Right.
It was the Washington Redskins and the Philadelphia Eagles were the area team.
Yeah.
And, my dad started teaching me football, when he wanted me to get into sports and everything. And so I asked him, well, what did you play? He's like, well, I played football. And my dad played wide receiver. And so he started teaching me football, started teaching me the game of it. I was a young age, man. I thought, oh, man, this was 89? Yeah, it was 89, and I was young.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad was like, hey, I'm going to invite some people over for Monday Night Football. I think it was either Monday Night Football or like an early Sunday game.
Right.
It may have been an early Sunday game because I don't remember. It wasn't at nighttime. But it was the 49ers and the Eagles.
Okay.
89. And so my favorite color is red. Obviously.
Right.
And they were playing in Philadelphia, and all my dad's friends, a few of my friends I invited over, were all Eagles fans.
Mm-hmm.
And they were all like, yeah, go Eagles and all that.
Yeah.
But my favorite color was red. And the Niners just happened that game to be wearing their red jerseys on the road because the Eagles wore white. Because earlier in the season, because it gets hot, so the Eagles would wear white jerseys
at home.
yeah, and make the away teams wear the dark jerseys.
Yep.
And so, the Eagles were whooping the crap. I almost said it. whooping the crap out of the Niners, man. The first half, all the way to the third quarter, just beating them down. And then I was like, man, I remember my dad was telling me, man, don't ever count out Joe Montana.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens? Montana was 5 touchdown passes in the
That
fourth
was that
quarter.
game. Oh, yes.
Against the Eagles, 5 touchdown passes. And I've been Niners ever since. Yeah, I was like, all right, that's my team. I was young. I didn't understand football too much back then, but I knew Joe Montana. I knew Jerry Rice, and those were. And then ever since then, like the next Sunday, boom! I was like, because back in the day there wasn't no NFL Sunday Ticket.
Nope.
They had ABC, NBC, CBS, ESPN. They all played the football games. They were every single game was on TV.
Yeah.
So then, besides watching the Browns or the Eagles game, I said, Dad, can you find the San Francisco team?
Yeah.
So and he went and found the channel, put the game on. Ever since then, it's been 49ers.
That's awesome.
And then I was, I got to see him win the Super Bowl that year against Denver. I kind of couldn't party like I should. I was young.
Yeah, you were younger.
Yeah, so that's why I started really getting into football, and ever since then, I've been tracking him since '89. Yeah.
Yeah. What a game to get introduced to the team with.
Mm-hmm.
That Joe Montana 5 touchdown comeback game.
That magic comeback, and it was like, and me, I was already, into magic because, I work as a magician. And to me, and hearing the announcers on TV say, oh, this is magic. Like, we knew Montana was going to do this, and it's just to watch it was like, wow, All
right, so you work as a magician. Hold on,
Yeah.
we're going to come back to that. We got to get into that. That's very interesting. I always say we got the most talented fan base in the world.
Oh, yeah.
And here we are with another dynamic of it. So, I did Niners for a minute. All right, growing up, rooting for Joe Montana, and the Niners. Who were some of your favorite players from back in the day?
Bill Romanowski.
Romo.
Yeah, man. I had a thing I liked because I'm also an NHL fan.
Mm-hmm.
So I love the hits. And just to see Romanowski just destroy somebody.
Mhm.
Tim McDonald.
Oh yeah,
Obviously, Ronnie Lott. Like, who plays a game with a half finger?
exactly. Rips it off on the
Rips it
field.
off, yup. He's like, heck with this, you know?
Yeah.
Ronnie Lott, man. And just that, there's just so many names from them. You know, Roger Craig.
Mhm.
You know, I'm a huge Roger Craig fan. I love watching him. You know, Montana. And even like we had Young. I was a Young fan.
Yeah.
We had Rice, Nate Singleton.
Mhm.
No, like old school guys.
Yeah, yeah.
John
Yeah.
Taylor from Delaware State.
JT, that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Love JT.
Yeah, and I mean, I really believe that like if John Taylor was on another team, he would have been the one. He would have been wide receiver number one.
Clearly wide
Yeah.
receiver one.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Yep.
That's how good he was.
Yeah.
And Roger Craig.
Mhm.
Why isn't Roger Craig in the Hall of Fame?
You know, I think. You know why I think so?
Why?
I think two things. I said one. I think a lot of people hold that fumble against him against the Giants.
Yep.
I was a little.
We are all,
yeah.
you know, after
yeah.
that one, yeah.
I have forgiven him.
Yeah.
But I don't think he should have held him against the Hall of Fame. And I think, you know, when he left the Niners and he went to the Raiders, then to the Vikings after that, right? I think
Yeah,
it was the
yeah.
Vikings. And I know he did well with the Raiders. I don't think he did very well with the Vikings.
Yeah, that was his last year.
I think I would have skipped going to the Vikings and just retired, kind of like with Rice. You know, Rice went to, you know,
yeah,
Oakland,
Raiders,
and then
Seattle.
Denver, and then it was Seattle. Then
Seattle, then Denver.
Then Denver, then decided to change his mind. He's like, you know,
Right.
let me go back to San Fran and
Yeah.
every night. Yeah. So I think they hold that against him. You know,
Yeah.
because he didn't have the best years with the Raiders and the Vikings like he did with the Niners. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's
And a
typical of a player
Yeah,
at the end
they
of their
never- yeah.
career.
Mhm.
You know.
Yeah, they never, you know. And then I've heard like some of the big wigs, you know, on TV give interviews and stuff about this, and they just say like, well, he didn't have the talent around him that he did in San Francisco. It doesn't matter. It's like he's a talented runner. Have you not seen this guy high step and run? They called him the catfish because he would swim through the holes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if we're talking about a guy's impact on the game and what he meant to the team, he was clearly one of the key pieces
I think it wasn't up
to
until
that '80s team.
Up until
you know?
this year, I think he held the record for the Niners receiving yards out of the backfield, right? And was that broke by Christian McCaffrey this year? I can't
I don't
remember.
even know. I gotta look.
Yeah, it was either broken by Christian McCaffrey or somebody. I think someone recently.
CMC.
Someone just recently broke it. Yeah, for a single season. You know, reception yards out of the backfield or running back catches for a season.
I think it might be a reception for a season.
Yeah,
I don't know though, because
maybe it was McCaffrey. Maybe.
and I gotta look up the records because in Waters, Waters. I say Waters because in the background, people were looking at the Super Bowl when the 49ers played the San Diego Chargers. And Ricky Waters is on the screen. So sorry about that.
Ricky Running Waters.
Ricky Run the Waters.
Yeah.
Exactly. But Craig led the league in receiving, I believe, his rookie year when he did the 1,000 season.
Yeah.
I mean, first man in the NFL.
It may have been
1,000 yards and receive 1,000.
It may have been Frank Gore.
Frank.
We had so many good running backs.
I know.
It's hard to keep.
Yeah.
He might. Craig must still want to have that record.
Yeah, he might still. I remember saying like some record was broken, but
we text and talk a lot during the games and the off season. Like we're probably the only ones that's like up late at night on like a Wednesday. We'll text each other. What are you doing? I'm studying game film on the TV.
Yeah.
Like we actually coaching the team.
Yeah.
We're on there and we start. And one thing I liked about Craig, man, is that a lot of people don't realize. Bill Walsh utilized him so well with that Texas pattern out of the backfield.
Yeah.
Like that quick out and up throughout the base. You get your two linebackers, they go off on Rice or on Taylor or would follow Rathman out of the back. That's leaving him right across the middle for an easy 7 yards.
Yeah.
And back then, when we had Montana and Young, it was those real quick two-step drop, boom, get the ball off.
Yep, perfect timing too. As soon as that back foot hit, boom, get the ball out, hit him right in stride.
I remember we ran that play a couple years ago against Arizona with like 30 seconds left in the game. Garoppolo hit Jeff Wilson Jr. on that same Texas pattern.
Game-winning touchdown.
The same thing. Both of those linebackers went and followed the receivers, and Garoppolo hit him. Nobody was around him within yards.
No one's around.
Yeah, it just shows that Bill Walsh excellence and strategy is still input in our game plan today.
Well, look at the Seattle game this year when they ran the double fake
screen.
It Kittle over the middle.
Young did that to Brent Jones numerous times.
Bill Walsh all the way.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking about legacy, you know.
Yeah.
Bill Walsh, Mike Shanahan got it from Bill Walsh when he was with the Niners.
Yep.
And he was the offensive coordinator in that Super Bowl versus the Chargers.
I think,
and of course, passed it down to his son, Kyle Shanahan, who's now coaching the 49ers.
A lot of people forget that Mike Shanahan was our offensive coordinator. And, you know, we had a wide receiver, too, named McCaffrey, whose son is now our running back.
Exactly.
Ed McCaffrey. Yeah.
What do you think? So, perfect segue. What do you think about the addition of Christian McCaffrey?
Man, I think that's been the biggest pickup and trade in the last few years.
Yeah.
I think our offense just immediately, because now, okay, you can cover Debo.
Mm-hmm.
You can cover Ayuk. You can get a guy on Kittle.
Yeah.
You can't cover all of them all at the same time. You're going to run out of people eventually.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then it's like
you got to use a safety or a linebacker on Christian,
and we seen that as soon as the immediate impact when he came in, like you notice, like, you know, Garoppolo is not very mobile out of the pocket, so if those receivers were covered, you saw a lot. He was dumping, and then you saw Shanahan started picking up on, well, we're not covered, so they started sending McCaffrey out on the wheel routes. We've seen that numerous times where they hit Christian on a wheel route 30, 40 yards down the field, wide open.
Yep.
And then we did with Purdy, too, in the game against Tampa Bay.
Yeah,
brought him out there and sent him on that fly pattern.
Just set him right down.
And when we switched to Purdy, when Garoppolo got hurt, Purdy's pretty mobile in that pocket, man. Kind of looking like a Frank Tarkenton or something out there scrambling around and just making plays. And you got Christian McCaffrey out there, like, you can't cover them all. And then Purdy gets away, scrambles, and boom, he's wide open.
It's a beautiful thing. You talk about Christian, man. Talk about a guy literally born to play for the 49ers.
Yeah.
You know, dad played for the Niners under Mike Shanahan. He comes up. He's growing up all around the Shanahan system. Meets Kyle and the sisters and the family, and
they all have dinner and stuff together all the time.
And
so it's almost like a match made in heaven.
Exactly.
And I want to say, did we see an interview not too long after that trade was done where Shanahan said that his first year he wanted to draft McCaffrey, but he knew he had to get the defense first. But he said he was going to get him. He was like, I'll get him. I'll get him.
Kyle wanted him. He finally got his guy. And man. But it goes to show you, you know, he didn't get McCaffrey back then, but he did make the move to go out and get a Jerick McKinnon.
Jerick McKinnon. Well, unfortunately, it was hurt those couple of years. And then the year when we lost Wilson and Mostert, McKinnon came in and played well. But we see Kyle's vision. Him as, you know, just his offensive mind, what he wants to do with his offense. With Christian McCaffrey in there, you know, what do you think about when people are yelling, fire Kyle? Man, you just got to let the system play out. You know, like, people want to yell fire Kyle, but realistically, when was the last time the 49ers have been to the NFC Championship game 4 times in the last 3 years? George Seifert. What's the last time? Close with Harbaugh. But George Seifert. That was the last time. And, you know, when we had George Seifert, we were always favored to go to the playoffs and go to the Super Bowl.
To me, that's the key. But aside from Harbaugh, that's the key. Right now, there's this confidence in us as fans and the team that the road through the Super Bowl goes through San Francisco. We feel every year now we're going to make it. And we haven't had that since that early 90s, late 80s teams, you know? So for me, I'm like, hey, we got our guy in the coach.
I feel like it's Niner fans. We know what we have. NFL doesn't know what we have because they're always, they have Christian McCaffrey. Garoppolo's their quarterback. Mr. Irrelevant's the quarterback or what. Doesn't matter. We got Kyle. We got Kyle Shanahan. Like, this guy is a wizard. Chris McCaffrey's second game, he dials him up the halfback option and throws a pass. Brandon Ayuk wide open.
Exactly.
Yeah, who would expect that? It was
Exactly.
second game.
Second game. Guy
Wide
you just
open.
got. You got him throwing a touchdown.
Kyle Shanahan's like, yeah, go out there and throw it. Yeah, unleash it.
Yeah.
So, like, they don't. I think we're very disrespected from the NFL.
Yeah.
There, which always just looks down. Oh, well, they haven't played this team, or oh, well, it's the 49ers. They're,
Yeah. Well, let them keep disrespecting us.
Yeah, right.
Number 6 is coming.
It's coming. Yeah.
We're close. It should have been this year.
Yeah.
It should have been this year. And
we should be up. We should be on. Let's go.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. Crabtree was held.
Oh.
That would have been number 6. We run the darn ball. Yeah, that would have been number 7. So this should have been number 8.
Yeah.
We should have 8 Super Bowls.
Always go through history.
Yeah.
And
9 of we don't cough up the ball against.
If Craig doesn't fumble,
We've got.
we're the first team ever to three-peat.
Yeah. Oh,
Let's
yeah.
put that out there.
And that's immortality, right there.
Exactly.
No one's ever done.
No
one's
one
done
can
it.
touch us
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I always say the 2011 team was a Super Bowl team, and that we
Kyle Williams. I really think we beat New England with that defense.
Yes.
Hittner, Deshaun Goldson, we were knocking people out. You remember that?
Willis and Bowman in the
Yes.
middle, linebackers.
Yeah, man. We had Alden Smith, like a right set mind at the time.
Yep,
Alden
exactly.
Smith. Yeah, man. That defense was ferocious, and that was right on the borderline when they stopped with the hitting and all that.
Yes,
And you remember that Saints game that Dante Woodard, he set the tone in that first drive with the Saints. Who was that? Was that Harry? He knocked out.
Oh,
And he
was it Pierre Thomas?
He dropped up that fumble and we picked
It
it
might
up.
have been someone else, but yes,
And he leveled him.
he was out on his feet
And that set the tone of the
the
game.
entire game.
Yeah. So that was and that was when they had the bounty gate.
Yeah,
That was just right because they were talking about Alex Smith. We're gonna go take the head off.
Yeah.
We're gonna break his leg. We're gonna injure him. And now when that got back to the Niners defense, no,
yeah,
no. If anybody gonna be knocking people out, we gonna be knocking people
exactly.
out.
We know how to hit people,
Yeah.
and we sure did.
Yeah.
We sure did, man. Just running back. I gotta ask you this question. You became a Niners fan by watching them play the Eagles. What do you think of that NFC Championship game?
Man. All right, before I get into it, I'm just going to say kudos to the Eagles.
Mhm.
All right, you made it to the Super Bowl. Congratulations.
Right.
Yeah, you're there. You can do all the what if, ands, coulda, woulda, shoulda, they were on the right side of the ball with the luck.
Yeah.
I mean, tight game. That
Mhm.
first quarter, they were quiet.
Yep.
7-7.
Yep.
But when both of your quarterbacks go down and you ain't gotta, and you gotta bring your starter back in who can't throw the ball because he's got a torn ligament in his elbow, you can only run the ball. There's not much you can do.
Yeah.
I'm just being, I'm not making excuses.
Yeah.
There's not much you can really do.
Yeah.
And you can talk about, we ran up the score on that number 1 defense. Well, yeah, you're going to when your defense is getting gas from your offense going 3 and out.
Right. It's inevitable. And turning the ball over, giving you a short field.
Yeah.
It's football.
Yeah.
It's what's going to happen.
I think. Yeah. I really truly believe that that's a much better game. If that catch by Devontae Smith is challenged.
Yeah.
And the Eagles turn the ball over right there, and we get it. That sets a whole different tone.
Yep.
Exactly. I can't predict the outcome of that game if Purdy stays healthy. I don't think it would have been a blowout. The Eagles could have won. We could have won. I think it would have been a slugfest, and I think it would have been a much better game.
Yeah. Most definitely. Yeah. I just feel like we were robbed because we didn't see our complete team.
Yeah, we didn't have the. Yeah.
So it was really a punch to the stomach
Mm-hmm.
to have to take, because it was like, talk about, fighting with one hand tied behind your back. We really had two hands tied behind our back.
And this upcoming season, there's that one game that's going to be circled on that calendar.
That's when we visit the link again.
Yep.
Yeah. And I got a feeling that Niner fans are going to be there in force for this one.
And with we've heard all the interviews from Kittle and Ayuk
Yep.
and Debo, and Eagles fans are out there saying, "Oh, you guys keep talking about." Well, the media keeps interviewing them, asking them about it. What do you want them not to answer the questions? Like, no, we're not asking you their tribute because that's who they are. They're going to tell you how they feel and what they saw. We're not on the field,
Right.
They're telling you from what they seen on the field what was going on.
Yeah. Yeah. And I appreciate them being forward and candid with their responses and not just giving the generic, kudos and hats off to the Eagles for a fine game. No.
Yeah.
It shows that they feel it. It meant something to them.
Yeah.
And they're going to hold on to that feeling going into next season.
Yeah, they're gonna come in PO.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, talk about a chip on your shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a bigger chip than 2019.
Yeah.
Losing that Super Bowl. Because these guys are a lot older now. They're more experienced.
Yeah.
They want to get back there. And I think they're going to have that feeling of, you know what, we were robbed of a real opportunity.
Yeah.
And they're going to be firing on all cylinders.
So, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
So, you've been a Niner fan, obviously, a long time, like myself. I was young when this happened. I think I'm a little bit younger than you. The Montana tree.
Yeah.
How did you handle it?
That was rough. Because he was my guy. As a matter of fact, I'm wearing my 49 Legends Montana shirt right now.
That's a great awesome shirt.
So he's still my guy.
Yeah.
And it was just rough because, a guy you drafted, grew up with, watched him play, watch him win, get all these accolades. And to see him injured, that was the biggest thing.
Yeah.
He was injured and hurt. And you're like, man, I know if he just gets healthy, he can get back on the field and be effective, be the same guy.
Yep.
And, of course, the team, we had Young had taken over, and we were flying on all cylinders.
Young, if I remember correctly, he stepped in 2 years in a row, led the league in passing.
Yes,
MVP.
yes. And Montana was out with his elbow all that time,
So, I remember we were expecting him to come back for training camp, and he got hurt in training camp, I believe. Yeah, was it 91?
I believe
we didn't make we didn't make the playoffs in 91. We went 10-6 where we fell short.
Right.
And then 92.
Yeah.
Montana was still on the bench.
Right, because he was still injured there. I think
he got injured that training kick because he was out. He was still out from 91 with the injury from the NFC Championship game in 90.
Yeah.
So I think beginning of the 92-93 season, that training camp was when he hurt his elbow.
Yes.
And then they made Young the starter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So imagine he's being out and you're like, man, I just want to see Joe back. I just want to see Joe back.
Yeah.
And of course he comes in and he plays that final game.
It's the Lions, right?
Yeah. And he comes in second half and you see him and he throws the 2 touchdowns, and shout out to Mike Shanahan who dialed up those 2 touchdowns for him to throw, because George Seifert wanted him to run the ball, but Mike was like, nah, I gotta let Joe throw it home. And he did. And to see him throw it and look good, and just to see him have those arms raised in his hand, in the air after he throws a touchdown, it was an awesome feeling.
Yeah.
And then the trade, and you're like, oh.
So I remember being so excited watching that because my hero had been gone for, I first started watching football in '89. The '89-'90 season, I get to watch us go to the Super Bowl and we obliterate Denver. So I'm still young, but I'm like, this is cool.
Yeah.
We come in the 90 season, I'm learning more and more about football. We go to the NFC Championship game, he gets hurt. And like I said, I'm still kind of young. I didn't understand injuries a lot at that time, and then comes in the 91 season and he's still not there. Like, where's my guy?
Yeah.
Like, and we missed the playoffs, and I didn't understand how the divisions and seeding and stuff worked back then. I was still learning the game.
Yeah.
Now I honestly, I didn't really start understanding that stuff probably until about, I think my dad fully tried to explain to me around 92, 93.
Right.
Yeah. But then when we came out in '92 and no Montana again, then he comes in that last game of the season. I'm excited to see.
Yes.
I'm excited for the next week because I think we have that bye week.
Yeah.
And then we went on. I think was it the Giants we played in the playoffs first round before we got. Or no, it was Washington. We played Washington in the first round, and Young was starting again, and I was like, well, where's Montana?
Yeah.
Why is he not? And then the next week we play Dallas, and of course we all know how that
Yeah.
92 championship game turned out. And then I remember hearing the announcers, and then like it was Pat Summerall and John Madden were saying this is probably our last game of Montana in a 49ers uniform, and I didn't understand.
Yeah.
I'm like, he's won 4 Super Bowls. Like, I don't understand why don't we want him?
Yeah.
Like I was young, I didn't know, and I was upset when the news broke that he went to Kansas City.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to think.
Right. It's like you said, you watching your hero, and he comes back, and you're excited, and all of a sudden, he's gone.
Yeah.
It's like,
This might sound weird for someone who's like I'm a very passionate Niners fan. I used some of my chore money. You know what I did?
what do you do?
I bought me a Joe Montana Kansas City Chiefs jersey because I still wanted to support my favorite player.
Yeah, I did too.
And people would be like, I'd go to school. One day I have my Niners Jerry Rice jersey on. The next I came in and have Montana Ken, and they were calling me bandwagon. I said, no, I'm not a Chiefs fan. I'm a Joe Montana fan. Like this was my guy.
Yeah.
Nothing against Steve, because Steve. I love Steve Young.
Love Steve Young. Yeah.
And I was, I was around more for the Steve Young years, so I grew to love Steve Young. But I was one of those that was like when Montana went to Kansas City, I almost went with him.
Yeah.
I stayed with the Niners, and because I loved Rice. I love Steve. Like I said, I love Steve Young. Steve Young is one of my favorite players. I have his poster hanging on the wall. Yeah. I have got a poster of him with the Super Bowl trophy. I do love me some Steve Young. Yeah. I have more Steve Young jerseys than I do Joe Montana. That's not a knock on Montana. He's my favorite player of all time. But I grew up, majority of my time, I got to watch Montana in '89 and '90, and after that, it was all Steve Young until 1999.
Right.
So I was around more for the Steve Young era than I was the Joe Montana.
Yeah.
So when I break it down, like, Steve Young is as much as my hero as Joe Montana.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like,
it's like I got my 2 Super Bowl replica rings over there. And I was anytime I have 49er fans over, it's like, well, we won 5, right? And I'm like, yeah, well, why do you only have 2? So, well, I've only watched 2.
Right.
So
those are the ones you identify.
Those are the ones I think. Yeah, I've only watched those 2. That's why I have that stuff up on the front. Yeah, it's those. So I identify with that. I was like, those are the 2 I remember watching.
Yeah,
it takes nothing away that we won 5. I'll be the first one to say, how many Super Bowls you got?
Right.
And that's another thing I want to say. So I'm just talking football now.
Yeah.
I get in a debate sometimes with people, and they start talking smack about winning and all that kind of stuff, and they're like, oh, well, you haven't won one since '94. And you get the ones like Seahawks fans, Eagles fans, they always bring that up. And I say, that's always something that a team fans bring up that haven't won a lot of Super Bowls. That's your excuse. Well, you haven't won one since '94. And I say, yeah, but that doesn't take it away.
Exactly.
When you win it, you win it. It doesn't go away.
Exactly.
Like, it's not like, oh, because you haven't won one in 15 years, 20 years, because it doesn't disappear. It doesn't go anywhere.
Nope.
You go down to the Niners Santa Clara office, right at the museum, those 5 Super Bowl trophies are still in that case. They're there.
Yep.
They're there. So, I had a conversation the other day with a buddy of mine who's a Seahawks fan, and we were having a debate, and he's a huge Tom Brady fan. I'm a quarterback guy.
Okay.
I like me some Brady. Okay. But I don't think he's the GOAT.
Right.
Maybe the GOAT of this era, but the all-around GOAT, Montana.
Yeah.
All right. So we were having a debate, and I didn't agree. So he's talking about, he's having a conversation with a worker or a coworker and all that about the greatest franchises of all time. And they're talking, the Steelers and the Patriots. So he gets me on the phone, and he's like, hey, I need your opinion. We got 2 of the greatest franchises of all time. Patriots and the Steelers, both with 6 Super Bowls. They're like, out of them, who do you think is the greatest franchise of all time? So I start going through and I'm thinking, so we check this out. The Steelers won 4 Super Bowls in the 70s.
Yep.
Terry Bradshaw, the Immaculate Reception.
Yep.
Yeah, the Steel Curtain. The defense doesn't get much better than that. There's the Steel Curtain. So Pittsburgh, hats off, awesome. But after the 70s, nothing.
Yep.
There's almost, a 20-year gap in between where they won their other 2.
Yep.
New England. So that's when I tell them, I said, check this out. I said, so it is very difficult to even make the Super Bowl, not alone make the NFC Championship game. Kudos to the Patriots. I said, but man, it is hard to put the Steelers in front of them. And I was like, and I asked him, and I said, listen, and I said, when you win 5 Super Bowls in a span of 13 years, doesn't that make you that would probably make you the greatest franchise of all time, right? And he's a Seahawks fan. He's like, yeah, that's because we'll probably never ever see that again. 5 Super Bowls in a span of 13 years. He goes, man, Brady and all that. I said, oh no, I'm not talking about Brady. I said, do you know what franchise won 5 Super Bowls in a span of 13 years that you just said will probably never be done again? That would be considered the greatest franchise of all time? He goes, what? I said, 49ers.
That's right, baby.
He said, we won 5 Super Bowls in a span of 13 years.
That's right.
So Steelers and Patriots may have 6, but we won 5 in a span of 13 years.
That's right.
I was like, that is, out of 13 years, that is almost half of that decade that we were winning Super Bowls. And I was like, look, man, I said, like I said, taking nothing away from the Patriots.
Yeah.
They won, 3 or 4, and then were dormant for 10 years.
Yep.
Now, they got to the Super Bowl a few times, but couldn't get it done.
Yep.
So that's why I was like, and he kind of looked at me, he's like, well, no. And I'm like, oh, so it's different when it comes to the 49ers.
You see how that changes?
It's different when it comes to the Niners.
Yeah.
Because you're a hater.
Right.
But, kudos to Brady. I don't think he's the greatest of all time. I think Tom Brady is probably the 3rd greatest quarterback of all time behind Joe Montana and Steve Young.
There you go. I'll take it.
And the reason I say that, I'm just going to be realistic. Montana played in an era where there weren't radios in the helmets.
No.
They didn't have the rules protected. Montana would get, if Montana could have played another 5-6 years, and didn't get injured, he would have won a couple more Super Bowls.
Yeah.
I truly believe that. You can even see on the NBC Peacock documentary about Montana, where he talked about how he had to memorize each week 250 different plays.
Yep.
And that wasn't counting the formations, because each play had a different formation. So you had to know the formations and the actual play and every single route that those receivers are running. So now you don't have that now.
No.
You have, the headsets and
well, they got the headsets and the wristbands and the coaches. But you're just going, hey, run play 46, and then they're reading 46 off the wristband. Like, oh yeah, that's blah 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 blah, and they go do it.
Yeah,
much different.
Yeah. So I mean, like I said, I take nothing away from Brady, but there wasn't, if he played in the era back then where he can just get throttled and didn't have the radio in the helmet, it's maybe a different story, but we'll never know, because I obviously can't go back in time. At least I take nothing away from him. I feel very awesome that I've gotten to watch players like Montana, Young, Troy Aikman, John Elway, Dan Marino. One of my all-time favorites, Randall Cunningham.
Yes,
I love Randall Cunningham.
Randall too.
A great quarterback. Played for the Vikings. Yeah, and then getting to be around for the era for Peyton Manning. Now Brady, and now we get to see Patrick Mahomes and all these other guys coming up. Like, it's a fun couple decades to be a football fan.
Indeed it is. Yeah. All right, we can talk about football all day, because it's great. And 49ers, we know. We just love. We got the passion for them. But I got to get back to you.
All right.
You're a magician. That's right. I trade.
Yeah.
Run it back for me. When did this start?
So, this happened a long time ago. Right when I was a kid. So it was an off season, because I released the football. It was off season. I didn't have nothing to do. It was a Sunday. I remember it was a Sunday. And my dad kept like, go outside and play, go outside and play. I had so much energy. I was running around the house, just driving my dad crazy. And my dad, you know, he got me into Marvel, DC. So we're gonna get a huge comic book collection, huge Spider-Man, Batman, you name it, I'm a fan. My favorite thing of all time, Ghostbusters, you know. So I was just running around the house, having a good time. My dad had so much, and my dad's like, you need something to do.
Yeah.
It was just one of those days where, because I was always the one that was outside playing, playing a pickup football game, playing some pickup hockey, out just throwing the ball. But for some reason, I was just like, you know what, I'm staying in the house today. I'm running around.
Yeah.
And my dad had these. He was going through his old comics and some stuff that he had when he was a kid, and he found some of these things called Marshall Brodeen magic cards. And he gave them to me, and they were like these little trick cards and everything, and you could like change the cards. So he did the trick to me. I was glued. And then he gave me the instructions. I immediately went to my room and started doing it. So then I take it to school, started doing it on the bus, something to people, and I'm like, they're like freaking out. I'm like, this is not cool. So then I wanted to learn more. So my dad looked up a magic shop. So the closest magic shop was in Essex, you know, because we lived in Chesapeake City, Maryland, and the closest magic shop was in Essex, near Baltimore, and it was a place called Denny and Lee's Magic Studio. So he took me down to Denny and Lee, and you know that started a long friendship with Denny Haney, who was, I would say, probably the most famous, non-famous magician out there.
Okay.
Denny toured the world for 35 years with his own show, retired, and opened up a magic shop. Denny has consulted for Copperfield, Penn and Teller, now David Blaine, and all kinds of people. You know, that was the late, great Denny Haney, which unfortunately we lost him about 4 years ago. So I just started learning from Denny, and my dad would take me down there, especially in the summer times. He would take me down there every day and drop me off. I would spend the whole day at Denny's shop. My dad would always give me like $20 to get for lunch, you know, 10, 20 bucks, you know, get some food or whatnot, or, you know, because I'd be down there all day. Well, what Denny would do, Denny would buy pizza for everybody, and he would let me spend that money on some magic stuff. And it was like, wasn't props or whatnot, it was books, magic books.
Okay.
And he said, that's where you're going to learn your trades, from books. And that's where I met Denny, and then a few years later, I met Scott Alexander. Yeah, so that's just started teaching me everything I need to know. And the one time when Denny told me I could do this for a living, I thought he was crazy. And he's like, oh, that's what I did. You know, and that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a magician, and kind of got into the comedy about it too. So I kind of mixed it all together, and magician, comedian,
So how many years in total have you been doing it?
Man, let's see. I got into it when I was about 9.
Wow.
Did my first paid show when I was 13. So
Wow.
39 now. So it's been over 20 years. Yeah. So I've been at this.
That's awesome though.
Yeah.
First paid show at 13.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I made $7.
All right.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yep. Yeah, for a classroom inside my school. Yep.
That's cool.
Yeah. It was $5 plus $2 for tax.
There you go.
That's what I charged.
But I understand now you're doing shows all over the country.
Yeah, I travel around. Yeah, comedy clubs, colleges, theme parks. Yeah, so it's fun times. Good stuff.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff. So, do you have anything you can show me?
Yeah. We got here. We'll call this I like to call this the mystery of the disappearing stick.
Okay.
Now, so there are many different versions of the disappearing stick. Some more painful than others. But here,
I don't want to know.
All right, here we do it. Disappearing stick. Here, watch closely. You know. Oh man, they watch real close.
Yeah.
Here we go. 1. Oh man, here we go. The disappearing stick.
What the hell? I'm sitting right next to him. I don't know what happened.
Man. Yeah, don't applaud. It's okay. You would applaud if you knew how hard that sucker was to pull off. I'll tip the hat, and I'll let you in on the secret. Because that way, then you'll think it's pretty impressive. So, when you called me and said you was coming over, I took the 2 handkerchiefs, the green one and the yellow one, and I shoved them up my right nasal nostril, all the way up. So now I get the stick. And when I go 1, 2, instead of sneezing, I make the sneezing sound, but I actually suck the stick up into my left nasal nostril while simultaneously shooting the silks out of my right nasal nostril and catching them in my hand all in the same act. And that's how it's done.
That's an advanced magic and science going on at one time.
That is, it's pretty wild. Now,
You can suck and blow from individual nostrils.
I was practicing this the other day, and I sucked one of those suckers up, and it still hasn't come back yet. So who knows when that's like, oh man, that would change color. It's green. It's not.
Yeah. Oh man. Wait, tell everybody, that's amazing. Tell everybody where we can find you.
You can find me on Twitter, Wayne Gonce at Twitter, Instagram, my website, waynegonce.com. You can check out tour dates. I'm actually coming to the East Coast in April. I'll be in Middletown, Delaware, and New York City. So, and I think we're going to catch up in New York too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, everybody, this has been a magical session of Faithful1o1 podcast. I'm Ty. This is Wayne. Thanks for tuning in. Stay faithful. Thank you, man.